alright, isn't it? This would make a great workhorse gigging guitar, I think. It's a Telecaster. It does the job. I thought it sounded good. I really did think it sounded good. I wonder though if it was a little bit bland, if it lacked a little bit of character. It does neither one thing or the other well, but it does them all perfectly adequately. I'm not a fan of this thing. Knob tip. Rubbish. That's putting me off, and the tuners are putting me off. Why don't I like these tuners? I thought about that. I don't like these tuners because hello, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Guitaristas. Another Telecaster. Today, it's the Fender Player. Polar white, this one. Polar white MN maple neck. It's all right, isn't it? I was going to say, am I excited today about this? I don't think excited is necessarily the way I would describe my feeling, but I'm very keen because I do love a Tele. I do love a Tele. And the reason for that goes way back to when I was a youngster. When I was 14 years old, I went to see Status Quo live at the Kersal Ballroom in Southend. And ever since, I've loved Telecasters. Although I normally say SG is my favourite guitar, if it weren't for the SG, Telecaster would definitely be my favourite guitar. So yeah, I've loved Teles ever since. That was, when was that? 1975. In 1975, there weren't really many options for a youngster who lusted after a Telecaster. I couldn't afford a Fender, so I got this. Look at that beauty. That's what us teenagers had to put up with in 1975. A Zenta. Yeah, it's the right shape, isn't it? Sort of. So yeah, that was 1975. And if I remember correctly, that cost £7, okay? But that was pretty much, what you were, you either bought a Fender, and there was probably one model of Fender Telecaster back then, or you bought, so that was like a Japanese thing then. And it wasn't until a few years later that they being the Japanese, started to make good knockoffs of this. And that's then where it all began. And today, of course, we've got loads of options. This Fender is targeted at some of those, I don't know what you'd call the price point. I don't know if it's mid-price point or affordable. It's not cheap, because there are cheap options for around about £150. This is targeted at the £500 bracket. I've got this to compare, obviously, with the other £500 bracket Telecasters that we've reviewed lately, i.e. these. The Sire T7. A Tokai Breezy sound. This G&L RSAT. And, of course, the Squire by Fender Telecaster Custom Telecaster, sorry. Now, they're all a bit cheaper than this, as I said. This falls in, typically 150 quid more. The retail price of this one is $669 on the Fender website. I see Sweetwater selling it for what, $850, $849 in the US. Retail price, street price, should I say, in the UK is around about £650. I always try and find a cheaper one. I paid £599. So I've paid for this a little bit more than any of those others. But I thought, well, look, that's what they're aiming at, isn't it? They're aiming at this. There's an option. If you want a Telecaster in that price bracket, these are the options, or these are some of the options. Okay, so I thought it would be unfair not to pull in the most affordable Fender branded version, because that's what they're all copying, isn't it? This is the real thing, isn't it? So I'm not excited, but I'm very keen to take a closer look at this. So that's what we're going to do. I've already waffled on for way too long, so let me remind you, timestamps are in the description box. What we're going to do is we're going to do a deep dive review of this, take it all apart, measure it all up, and then have a good old play and see what it sounds like, and then come back later and talk about it, okay? So if you haven't got time for that, skip forward to see what it sounds like, or whatever it is interests you. If you've got a little bit of time on your hands, you know what to do. Go and make a cup of tea, get some biscuits or nibbles, packet of crisps maybe, I don't know, a little sandwich. Come back and join me, and let's get stuck in and see what the Fender player's like. Come on, let's get on with it. Okay, now this entry-level Fender player comes in several colours. This one, polar white. It also comes in black. It comes in Tide Pool, which is kind of a blue, isn't it? 3-colour sunburst, butterscotch blonde, and a Capri orange, which is fairly fetching, isn't it? This is the entry level, you know, traditional layout, 2 single coil pickups, nothing fancy. But they do various other options, a player plus and God knows what else, different colours, different configurations, locking tuners, all at a premium, of course. But we're just talking about this one really, which is the entry level, I suppose. Entry level Fender, I guess. I don't think there's anything cheaper than this, is there, in the Fender catalogue? Not that I'm aware of as I speak. But okay, so all of these have got a maple neck, and if you want the Pal Ferro, I was going to say rosewood, but if you want the Pal Ferro sustainable option, you can only get it in the polar white and the 3-colour sunburst. This is an alder body. All of these have got alder bodies, which is not a nice, I like an alder body on a Telecaster. I always think it's got a little bit more snap to it than ash for some reason. I mean, I don't really know. I just think that for some reason. But yeah, I like a nice bit of alder. Doesn't, you know, it's not too heavy. I'm going to weigh that in a second. And it's got this block saddle bridge. I nearly said ashtray. It's not an ashtray bridge, is it? It's got this block saddle design, which I'm not so keen on, as you might know. I prefer the ashtray, but it's not an option on this, so I ended up getting this. If you want an ashtray bridge on a Fender, I think classic, not classic vibe, that's Squire, isn't it? I think, what do they call it now? Vintera, or whatever they call that these days, is, and it's a few quid more. So I thought we'd get this. First time I've ever had a steel block saddle bridge, so be interested to see, I suppose, if I like it. Here we go, let's see what it weighs. £7 9 ounces, not bad, is it? Or 3.44 kilos. There you go. Let's have a look at the neck. It's what they call a medium C profile, and it's got a lovely satin urethane finish on the back, which is very nice. As you can see, skunk stripe there. A gloss urethane finish on, obviously, this maple version on the front. Medium jumbo frets. They're pretty chunky, I can tell you. I can tell you that. I'll do some close-ups now so you can see those, and I'm just having a feel. It's all right. It's not bad at all. There's nothing sharp leaping out at me at all. So pretty good job. Yeah, neat and tidy. Yeah, neat and tidy I'm going with. The nut they call synthetic bone. And tuner-wise, I can't get excited about these, what you call them, die-cast tuners. I'm not really a massive fan. I mean, you know, big old nuts. They're not the split post style that should be on a Telecaster, really. And they feel kind of weak. There's no kind of... it just don't feel great. But they hold tune perfectly well. So given I spent a day playing this yesterday, or well, not all day obviously, but a fair few hours, and I didn't have any tuning issues, so they do the job. But yeah, a bit like, yeah, a bit, you know, a bit so-so. So yeah, that's that, isn't it? Oh, 9.5-inch radius fingerboard this, and obviously, well, let's have a look at the profile and measurements now. Okay, here's the neck profile and measurements at the 1st fret. And here's the neck profile and measurements at the 12th fret. As you can see, it's a fairly shallow C. It's a nice, sort of pretty comfortable medium neck. Right, the pickups, these are the Fender Player Series pickups, and there's some old blurb about them being wound to be in between vintage sounding and modern sounding, so that could mean anything. Let's take some readings and then we'll pop them up and have a look underneath. So first off, bridge pickup is weighing in at 9.97 kilo ohms, or as 3.21 Henrys, and then the bridge neck is 7.87 K, and the inductance 1.94 Henrys. That seems quite low, doesn't it? So, okay. I don't know what that means. Anyway, middle reading 4.47. They seem sort of quite hot to me, but anyway. The other thing I was going to mention, the knob tip is rubbish. I'm surprised it made the shipping really. It's really loose. So that's really annoying. That needs sticking on, I'm afraid. Here we go. Knob tip. Rubbish. Okay. Yeah. So, CTS parts, 250K, audio taper. I can see that says AUD there. This one is 250K. Everything else is covered up. So, I imagine that's audio taper as well. It would be, wouldn't it, really? A nice looking, it's a 3-way blade switch. And the little cap there is just says 503. I don't know what the value is. It's not 503, is it? That's something else, isn't it? I'm not sure. Let me know, will you, if you know. I'm learning. There's still gaps in my knowledge, unfortunately. Right. Yeah, well, that's all there is to see there. So what I'm going to do is, well, I can see inside shielding paint, and it's got an earth that's connecting the pot to the body there. Okay. Pop that there for now. Pick guard. There you go. 22 frets, so it's got that little overhang. You can see that on the camera. It's got that little overhang on the fretboard, so you have to kind of pull the scratch plate back. Anyway, I digress. See if I can flip it. Hey. There you go. It's routed for a humbucker. There you go. It's good news for all you modders out there. Modders. There you go. Nice, neat and tidy routing. And it's adjustable. As you can see, it's got the rubber adjuster springs on it, rather than being screwed directly into the body like they sometimes are. So that's good. I like the colour of that scratch plate as well, you know, set off. It's kind of a, I don't know what you call that, it's an off-white or a mint green or whatever, but it's just got a nice contrast to the white of the body. Anyway, and that's what the pickup looks like, just a basic, what's that, plastic bottom. There you go. So let's, now, I did say just now that I was going to also take the bridge pickup up, but as you can see, access to these screws is hampered dramatically by these steel block saddles, and it's going to be a bit of a faff, a bit of a time-consuming faff to remove the saddles to undo this, and I don't think it's going to be worthwhile. I think we can, well, I think what we're going to have to do is imagine that under there looks pretty much the same as under there. There's nothing I don't think that warrants the effort that I will have to go to show you. So I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to pass on that today. I'm keen to screw it all back together, get some strings on, and have a listen to it and see what it sounds like. So I'm going to get on with that. See you in a minute. That's fully cranked, just roll off a little bit. I have to be careful because that just keeps falling off. I put a little bit of tape on it and I thought that would fix it instead of breaking out the super glue, but it hasn't. Shit. It's really annoying. It's a bit sudden, that roll off. Yeah, it's a bit just usable in that you can. It's got about 2 settings, is what I'm trying to say, isn't it? It's setting 2, and then after that, bye. That cuts a little bit more, doesn't it? Let's try the tone. It's all right, isn't it? I do think it lacks a bit of that Telecaster twang. I think it's this. I think it's these solid saddles. It really lacks that. I mean, it's got a little bit, but it's not. It doesn't, you know, really punch you in the face like Telecasters do. Should, I was going to say should. Should. Yeah, should. Feels a bit soft. And I'm sort of imagining maybe a sort of a sitar in. Can you hear that? Could you hear that? Or was it? I don't know if that was my imagination or not. It was quite zingy, this guitar. Maybe that was in a good way, or maybe it was kind of in a sitar-y way. I'm not really sure. It's difficult, obviously, to judge a guitar in isolation. I've got nothing to compare it to this week. So all I can really say is what my ears were hearing this week. I thought it sounded good. I really did think it sounded good. I wonder, though, if it was a little bit bland, if it lacked a little bit of character. So, you know, question for you really, what did you think? But there's no doubt it sounds good. It sounded great for this rig, but pretty much everything sounds great for this rig anyway. It's good that we're using a constant rig now, so we can get, you know, proper comparisons as we go, I think. But yeah, it does the job. It does the job. It's a Telecaster. It does the job. This would make a great workhorse gigging guitar, I think. Especially if you want the Fender on the headstock without, you know, wanting to spend big money. It's affordable enough to take around to gigs, and it will take all the knocks. This, won't it? It's a Telecaster, but you know, you won't feel too precious about this, you know, if it does get nicked and stuff. But I think, well, what I was going to say is, as far as a Fender Telecaster goes, I think if you're gassing for a proper Fender Tele, you might want to go up the tiers, the many tiers of Fender a little bit. I'm not sure I would be happy with this, purely because, you know, for me, the hardware's not right. You know, for a Telecaster, I'm not a fan of this thing. I've already potentially blamed it for making a sitar, and I don't know if it's that at all. I don't even know if it was my imagination, but look, this is putting me off. That's putting me off, and the tuners are putting me off because I don't think they're right. And some of these ones that we're going to compare it with in a few weeks are more right. You know, they've got variations of the proper ashtray style bridge. That ridge on the ashtray style bridge is important for me because I lock onto it. I use that. That's when I'm playing. I'm doing that all the time. I didn't, however, find this difficult. I just used the heel of my hand, I think, instead, to engage with the guitar. I mean, obviously, I'm getting used to playing different guitars and just working with what I've got now. So, anyway, that and the tuners. Why don't I like these tuners? I thought about that. I don't like these tuners because they just feel sloppy. Yeah, that you just. I don't know if it's a ratio thing or, you know, there's not enough. I can't think of the word. There's just, look, it just turns so quickly. You go, oh, gone. I've tuned down half a step already, you know, and all I did is touched it. You see what I mean? Probably not, but yeah, take my word for it. They're not my favourite tuners. So these two things put me off. And apart from that, it's a Tele, and it plays great like Teles do. I find that I really enjoy playing Telecasters, full stop. Whatever one I've got, I enjoy playing it. And I like to think that does come across in my playing when I'm playing these things. I find the neck access on Telecasters is great. I really do. You know, it's not, they're far easier to play than Les Pauls, which are probably my least favourite guitar. So, you know, in terms of, neck access, it's all there. What I did notice about this particular one, and this is a criticism actually, I'll do a close-up of this so you can see. The high E string is, oh look, you can see that sometimes it's too close to the edge of the fingerboard. That's what I'm trying to say. You can see that it's very close to the edge of the fingerboard. I didn't find that a problem, but it can slip off quite easily if you're not careful. So it's not perfectly lined up. Not a problem. It's just an observation. It might be a problem for you. And the problem is you can't do anything about it with it. Well, that's not entirely true. There is a thing you can do, which you'll. I mean, I've got a 70s Tele, and they were known for being like that. The way you can fix that is just loosen the neck screws and just give it a tug. You just loosen them a little bit and just give it a tug and retighten it, and that'll just reorientate the neck a little bit. That might work. Apart from that, you might have to play around it or change that for an ashtray style, which would perhaps give you a little bit more leeway, you know what I mean? However, as I said, before you sort of start thinking about changing things, because the pickups as well, I don't know, I mean, they're bound to be, I think, a bit of cover all bases. So I think they probably do, but I think they probably don't. That's what I was saying. I thought it was maybe a little bit, maybe lacked character. So I think that it does neither one thing or the other well, but it does them all perfectly adequately. Not saying it didn't sound good. It does. It sounds great, doesn't it? But, you know, it's neither vintage nor modern. It's somewhere in between. So, again, you might want to start thinking about, well, you probably would, wouldn't you? Think about, oh, what pickup's going to put in it. So if you're gonna go that route, you think, well, just get another model instead. Spend a few £100 more. I mean, I'm not completely au fait with all the different tiers of Telecaster tiers, but I'm sure. Yeah, I think it was the Vintera, which was maybe £1,000. I don't know. I haven't done my research, but you know what I'm saying. I don't think this is a perfect candidate for a modification job. I think you might be able to get something else which has got some better parts. And but if you want a great solid Telecaster, Fender, gigging guitar, boom, there you go. You've seen the colours. The price is, you know, okay, not bad. So it's a good option. I'm looking forward now to actually putting this side by side with that other bunch, you know, the 4 that I showed you earlier in this film. We're going to do a proper full-on side-by-side comparison in a few weeks' time, you know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks' time. I think we'll get back to this and we'll do that and we'll get that done. And at that point, we'll compare everything, in particular the necks and, you know, the pickups and the sound. Obviously, the sound, we'll play them all side by side so we can have a proper listen and say, this might actually be standout. This might sound brilliant compared to them. It might sound rubbish. I don't know. I haven't compared them yet. So that's what we're going to do. So keep watching. It's not going to be next week. I'll give it a few weeks break and then we'll come back and we'll do that in great detail. And that'll probably be a long one. So get your snacks in for that. That's it for now. That's it for today, I think. Hope you've enjoyed that. Nice play out one. I can't say nice play out jam, can I? You be the judge of that. I enjoyed this play out jam, and I hope you do too. Come back next week. I've got a nice little surprise for next week. Something I've just clicked online and bought, providing it arrives. I'm excited. Come back next week, same time, same place, and find out what it is, eh? Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm very, very much looking forward to it. I'm excited. Calm down, Cole. See you next week, I hope. Cheers for now. Ta-da.